The borderline heart. My name doesn't matter. The dates do. On December 3rd, 2009, a legal medicine journal received a case report. On the 11th of February, 2010, they accepted it. It was printed in 2010, Volume 18, Issue 1, pages 3 to 12. The title was Sudden Death Associated with Borderline Hypertrophic Cardiomyopathy and Multiple Coronary Anomalies. Case report and literature review. I read it again tonight, after I told a boy he was fine. He was 19, track and field. He complained about the treadmill. Said the belt felt wrong under his shoes, that he ran better outside when the air hit his face. His blood pressure was good, his oxygen was good. When I listened with my stethoscope, his heart sounded clean and strong. No one in his family, he said, had dropped dead young. He smiled the whole time, the way young athletes do when they've never seen their body fail them. His mother waited in the hallway, twisting her car keys until they clicked together in her hand, over and over. I checked the boxes. I signed my name. Cleared for competition. They thanked me and left. The door shut. The ward slipped into that late-hour sound where everything feels a little too loud. The hum of the vents, the beep of a monitor in someone's room, wheels rolling on linoleum, laughter from the nurses that stops as soon as it leaves the throat. I could have gone home. Instead, I opened that article. It begins with another young man. He was 20 years old, a football goalkeeper. He collapsed just a few minutes after the beginning of a training session. The doctors tried to bring him back. They could not. He had been recently transferred to a first league team and was described as a promising goalkeeper. His medical exam right after the transfer had not revealed any health problems. He too had been told he was fine. At the autopsy, they opened his chest and took out his heart. They measured it, about 11 centimeters tall, 10 centimeters wide, 6.5 centimeters thick, front to back. Bigger than average, but he was an athlete. The wall of the main pumping chamber on the left and the wall in the middle, the septum, the divider, were both around 2 centimeters thick. The right side's wall was about 0.4 centimeters, thin like paper in comparison. If you explain it to a child, you could say, his heart muscle was like a house wall that had been built a little too thick in some places and a little too thin in others. When they sliced through the muscle, they saw pale gray-yellow patches and thin yellow streaks in the lower part of the divider wall, in the little muscles that pull on the heart valves, and in the side wall of the left chamber, close to the inside surface. Those pale areas mean parts of the heart had been hurt before. Not enough to make him collapse in front of anyone, just enough to leave scars. Then they traced the blood vessels on the surface. If you tell a 5-year-old, you say, these are the tiny roads that bring food and air to the heart itself. If they get squeezed, the heart gets hungry and angry. The left main vessel came out where it should from the big pipe at the top of the heart. It split into 2 branches. One branch went down the front of the heart. That's the left anterior descending artery, the front road. The other wrapped around the left side. That's the circumflex artery, the side road. Both of those roads disappeared under bands of heart muscle for part of their path. Those bands are called myocardial bridges, pieces of muscle that sit on top of a vessel instead of under it. Imagine laying a hose on the ground, then putting a heavy board over a section of it. When the heart beat hard, those bands could press down on the vessels like fingers closing over a straw. They found one bridge over the front branch, more extensive there. They found another bridge over the circumflex on the side. The right main vessel, the right coronary artery, was stranger. Usually that artery starts from a hole on the right side of the main pipe, the aorta, and curves around the right side of the heart. In this boy, The opening was above the left side, near the left aortic valve cusp. For the first 0.7 centimeters, not even a full centimeter, it ran inside the wall of the aorta itself. That is called an intramural segment, which you explain to a child as the road went through the wall of the tunnel instead of on the floor, so the tunnel could squeeze it from both sides. Then it came out on the far side and curved between big structures that could pinch it when the heart worked hard. They looked for the tiny vessel that feeds the heart's natural pacemaker, the sinus node artery. Normally it comes from the front roads. In this case, it came from the side road, the circumflex. It slipped under the base of the little left ear of the heart, then ran inside the wall of the top chambers until it reached the pacemaker area. So when they were done, they could list 4 odd things. Bridges of muscle pressing over both branches of the left coronary artery, especially the front one. A right coronary artery that started from the wrong spot and ran inside the wall of the aorta for 0.7 centimeters. A bridge of muscle over the circumflex artery. A sinus node artery coming from an unusual place and taking a long path through the wall. None of these by themselves guarantee death. Many people live their whole lives with one of them and never know. This boy had all 4. Under the microscope, the doctors saw more. They described hypertrophied muscle fibers, cells that were too thick, arranged in short spirals and whorls. They saw extra supportive tissue, reticulin, between fibers. They saw the inner lining, the endocardium, in places turned glassy and thick, with fat and collagen where it did not belong. They saw fibrosis, scar tissue, between the muscle cells and around small blood vessels. They saw similar changes in the conduction system, the wiring that tells different parts of the heart when to squeeze. If you tell it to a child, you say, inside his heart, the building blocks were messy and patched. The walls had old cracks filled with glue. The wires that told it when to beat had tape on them. His lungs were heavy and full of fluid. His other organs were swollen with blood, but nothing else explained why he died. He did not have one big, loud problem. He had many quiet ones that agreed all at once to say, no more. The authors looked at all of this and used careful, polite language. They called it borderline hypertrophic cardiomyopathy associated with multiple coronary anomalies. Borderline. In textbooks, the lines sound clear. If the wall is thick and the pattern is right, we say hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, a dangerous disease. If the wall is thick but the pattern is just exercise, we say athlete's heart, strong, not sick. If a vessel's path is odd but blood still flows on tests, we say variant. If it pinches off flow, we call it malignant. On paper, it is neat. In that report, they admit that his heart did not meet every strict rule for full-blown hypertrophic cardiomyopathy. The thickening was not extreme. The disarray was focal, not diffuse. The changes in the conduction system were real but not total. He lived in the gray zone between diagnoses. He died there on the field. They reviewed a large study of 33,735 young athletes and listed the usual killers in their world: diseases of the right ventricle, odd coronary origins, wiring problems, valve issues, classic hypertrophic cardiomyopathy, myocardial bridges. They pointed out that sudden death is rare. They ended by saying that, in this case, the combination of borderline muscle thickening with several coronary anomalies probably reduced blood flow to key areas during effort and led to fatal rhythm problems. Then the paper stopped. No curses, no ghosts. Just a boy with a heart that, for 20 years, was almost fine. The horror, for me, isn't that his heart was strange. The horror is that on paper, it was almost fine. I closed the article and opened my own list for this season. Names, ages, sports, positions. Next to each one, in my own writing, no structural disease, low risk, fit for competition. I thought of the basketball girl with the soft murmur that disappeared when she stood up straight, of the boy who said he saw stars after sprints and laughed it off, of the runner from tonight, complaining about the feel of the treadmill, his mother's keys clicking in the hallway while I told him he was fine. Their reports don't say borderline. They say normal. But I have seen what hides behind that other word. I turned off the monitor. The room dimmed to the green and amber of standby lights and door crack glow. The hospital around me breathed, air through vents, soft footsteps, the roll of a cart, a distant cough. Outside, past the parking lot and the street, somewhere in the dark, someone was running. Their heart was working harder with each stride, pushing blood through roads no one has ever fully drawn on a screen, through walls no one will see from the inside unless it is too late. On the report in their pocket, if they have one at all, the word is simple: normal.
Thank you for listening to The Storyteller's Moon. If this story touched you, scared you, or kept you on the edge of your seat, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support keeps the stories alive, and I can't wait to share the next one with you under the moonlight. Until then, may your nights be safe and your dreams unforgettable.